Boba Fett being knocked into the Sarlacc pit in Return of the Jedi was one of the most shocking moments for a lot of fans, as at the time George Lucas did not fully realize the popularity of Boba Fett, or how popular the character would go on to become post Return of the Jedi, as Boba Fett in Legends continuity are many people's favorite character. With a twisted sense of justice during the Bounty Hunters Guild, Boba Fett is considered the best bounty hunter in Star Wars Legends. Anyway though, in Legends continuity, it was confirmed that Boba Fett did escape the Sarlacc pit, and actually had a long prosperous bounty hunting career following this, encountering Han, Luke, Leia, and far more following his initial death. So today we will explain everything that Boba Fett did to escape the Sarlacc pit, as well as what he did afterwards, revealing that Boba Fett actually fell into the pit more than once. The Sarlacc could never hold Fett. Thanks to his iron will and Mandalorian armor, Fett was able to fight his way out of the beast's belly. After escaping, Fett was found by a group of Jawas, who mistook him to be either a droid or a cyborg. Initially, Boba Fett had fired his way out of the stomach of the Sarlacc pit, as was revealed to us in the official guide to Star Wars, and was able to crawl through the sand, but the creature was still alive, and Boba Fett had used the majority of his blaster fire that was left in all of his weaponry. The Jawas, though, never bothering to scan him and claimed him as their own under the impression that he was an unintelligent being, adding him to their vast collection of artifacts and junk. They took him to their sandcrawler, fitted him with the restraining bolt, and went on their way, as Boba Fett was near death. Fett was later joined by a familiar face when the Jawas stole R2-D2 from a hangar bay in Mos Eisley. R2 immediately recognized Boba Fett, but the meeting was interrupted as Han Solo and Leia attacked the sandcrawler in an attempt to get R2-D2 back. It was at this point that Fett awoke for the first time since being freed from the Sarlacc pit, just in time to see Solo enter the sandcrawler in an attempt to rescue R2. Unfortunately, the sandcrawler had been damaged during Han's attempt to enter it, and so a head-on collision course was headed towards the Sarlacc. The Jawas were too busy to fix it, as they had just been attacked by Tusken Raiders as well, part of Han Solo's plan. Han was just as shocked to see Boba Fett alive as R2-D2 had, believing initially that nothing could survive the Sarlacc pit. Han Solo at first was filled with a sense of fear, as his rivalry with Boba Fett had not been something that the smuggler had enjoyed. Fett, though, had temporarily lost his memory, and in fact helped Solo rescue R2 from the doomed sandcrawler, to Han Solo's utter surprise. Though against his better judgment, Solo then tried to help Fett escape also, as he couldn't leave a helpless man to die yet again. Unfortunately for Boba Fett though, it was at this point that his memory came back, due to Leia shouting Han's name repeatedly. Fett fired on the unarmed Solo before he managed to free him from the sandcrawler, causing Solo to jump onto the sand. The sandcrawler, with Fett in it though, crashed into the mouth of the Sarlacc, trapping Boba Fett once more. Solo, once more, thought Boba Fett was dead, this time for good. Boba Fett lay there for some time completely unconscious. After awaking, Boba Fett started a conversation with a fellow captive, the Choi known as Sesejo. To his shock though, Fett discovered that this being was actually psychologically connected to the Sarlacc itself, and it was this advantage that Boba Fett used to goad the creature into contracting around his jetpack, igniting the device and providing his means of escape. Sesejo was the Sarlacc of the Great Pit of Carkoon, formerly a male Choi. Sesejo fell victim to the Great Pit of Carkoon on Tatooine before his consciousness was merged with that of the Sarlacc. The very young Sesejo fell into the Sarlacc pit around 4,000 years before the Battle of Yavin. After being swallowed by the Sarlacc, he passed time by trading stories with the unlucky Jedi who shared his fate. By 4 years ABY, his personality had merged with that of the Sarlacc, which had digested him alive for thousands of years whilst it absorbed his consciousness, as Sesejo and the Sarlacc essentially became one. Yes, Star Wars Legends is very weird. Sesejo's personality embodied the creature, rendering it indistinguishable from the ancient sentient. Sesejo though was surprisingly friendly, as he introduced himself to the bounty hunter Boba Fett, who had suffered the same fate. Throughout Boba Fett's second stay, Sesejo, or the Sarlacc pit, and Fett had several lengthy conversations with each other. It was by goading Sesejo that Fett made the Sarlacc contract around his jetpack, creating a means for him to ultimately escape, as the jetpack exploded within the stomach. The resulting explosion, combined with the beast's acidic stomach juices, left Fett on the verge of death. As he lay on the surface of Tatooine, his colleague Dengar was searching for anything valuable left from the explosion, but found Boba Fett instead, and decided to nurse him back to health. Dengar and Fett then survived a bombing run on the Great Pit of Carkoon arranged by Kut of Kuat, the leader of the Kuat Drive Yards. Dengar and Fett would become great friends, the infamous Fett even serving as Dengar's best man during his wedding on Maru. In return for his rescue, Fett allowed Dengar to accompany him in the Labyrinthine mission involving the Bounty Hunters Guild and the Prince Cesaro's ultra-secret Black Sun organization. It would be 4 long years after the Battle of Endor that Han Solo would discover that his lifetime enemy, Boba Fett, had actually survived his second encounter with the Sarlacc. Boba Fett and Han Solo would go on to have many different confrontations with one another through the ensuing wars, with Boba Fett surprisingly not really ever being killed off in Legends continuity, as he would eventually become Mandalore as well, taking over the Mandalorians just as his father originally had promised. About a year after his deal with the Sarlacc pit and after escaping it twice, Boba Fett eventually returned, speaking with the Sarlacc pit and mocking it, telling the pit that it could not defeat the great Boba Fett. Boba Fett would also tell the Sarlacc pit that he knew that the Sarlacc considered itself to be unkillable and to be an eternal being. However, Boba Fett promised that one day he would return with the sufficient enough firepower in order to kill Sesejo and the pit for its many crimes against the bounty hunter. However, this would never come to pass, as Boba Fett never returned to the planet of Tatooine with the purpose of destroying the Sarlacc pit, perhaps himself coming to the conclusion that the Sarlacc pit was in fact eternal, or perhaps taking pity on the long conversations that he had had with the pit while trapped inside of it. Just to go over it again briefly, this is exactly how Boba Fett managed to escape the Sarlacc pit in Legends continuity, as again in the canon Star Wars universe we do not know for sure how. In Legends though, Mandalorian armor, or Beskar, is what really saved Boba Fett's life more than once, as the acidic acid of the Sarlacc pit was unable to digest Boba Fett, therefore leading him to have several conversations with the Sarlacc. At first though, Boba Fett fought his way through the Sarlacc pit, cutting away at it, until he located its outer shell, at which point he used what was left of his weaponry to shoot his way out of the pit and climb through the sand to the surface. The second time though that Boba Fett managed to escape the Sarlacc pit was far more difficult, as all he really had left as far as arsenal was his jetpack, although his Mandalorian armor saved him yet again one more time. Boba Fett though managed to provoke Sesejo, telling Sesejo that he was not omnipotent and was not an unkillable machine. This forced the Sarlacc pit to contract around Boba Fett's jetpack, causing it to explode and propel Boba Fett out of the pit once and for all. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? And do you think how Boba Fett managed to escape the Sarlacc pit twice makes sense? And did you know that he actually fell victim to the Sarlacc pit more than once, as well as that the Sarlacc is an actual sentient being? Again guys, Star Wars Legends can get really weird. Anyway though, my friends, I would love to hear what you think about this and other parts revolving around Boba Fett in the Star Wars universe. And do you think that Boba Fett will actually return in The Mandalorian or at any point further down the line in the Star Wars canon? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching. May the Force be with you and have a great day.